Once upon a time, in a lively city, there was a skilled doctor named Gulliver. When work became hard to find, Gulliver decided to venture beyond the familiar, joining the crew of a large ship. Excited for the journey, he embraced life on the open sea, filled with endless waves and boundless skies. For the first few days, Gulliver enjoyed the gentle breeze and the rhythm of ship life. But one night, the weather turned fierce, and a terrible storm engulfed the ship. The waves grew enormous, tossing the ship wildly until, with a mighty crash, it tipped over. In the chaos, Gulliver and a few others managed to grab hold of a small rowboat just before the ship sank beneath the waves. They floated in the dark, clinging to hope. But as the hours passed, the rowboat was struck by another wave, scattering everyone into the ocean. Gulliver struggled to keep afloat until, finally, the currents carried him to the shore of an unfamiliar land. Exhausted, Gulliver collapsed on the sand and drifted into a deep sleep. When he awoke, he found himself tightly bound from head to toe. Confused, he looked around and gasped. Tiny people, no bigger than his palm, surrounded him, each staring with a mixture of wonder and fear. These tiny beings, thinking Gulliver was a giant invader, had tied him up for their own protection. He tried to move, but winced as he felt the sting of tiny arrows landing on his skin. Despite their size, the arrows made their point. "Please don't hurt me," he called, his voice booming over the little villagers. "I mean you no harm." The villagers paused, astonished that he could speak. After some days passed, and the villagers saw he was harmless, they offered him food and water. Soon after, they decided to take him to their king in their small town, Lilliput. Gulliver was carefully strapped to a cart pulled by hundreds of little horses, and together, they made their way to the city. There, he was housed in the largest building, but even that required him to crawl to fit inside. The king, seeing Gulliver's peaceful nature, welcomed him and invited him to stay in Lilliput. Gulliver was grateful and agreed, on the condition he would help the people whenever he could. Soon, he became part of the village, assisting in various tasks, from carrying water to helping with construction projects. But one day, Gulliver learned of a grave threat. The neighboring kingdom planned to attack Lilliput and was preparing for war. Knowing how much the little people trusted him, Gulliver approached the king. "If you allow me, your majesty, I can help defend Lilliput," he offered. The king, grateful for his bravery, accepted the offer. That night, Gulliver gathered a long, sturdy piece of wire. When the enemy ships were gathered in the bay, he snuck across the shore, attached the wire to their ships, and with surprising ease, pulled them all back to Lilliput. The enemy soldiers, shocked by the sight of the giant, were too stunned to resist. The villagers rejoiced, and the king rewarded Gulliver for his bravery. After this victory, Gulliver continued to earn the king's trust. But as he spent more time with the king, some of the advisors grew jealous. They whispered to the king that Gulliver might try to take the throne, sowing seeds of doubt. One day, the king confronted Gulliver, announcing his decision. Gulliver was to be punished not with death, but with blindness, and he would be forbidden to visit the town. A loyal servant secretly informed Gulliver of the king's decision, and saddened by this turn of events, Gulliver realized his time in Lilliput was over. Late that night, he slipped away, leaving behind the people he had grown fond of. Traveling under the stars, he reached the neighboring kingdom, where he spotted a familiar rowboat, his own from the shipwreck. With the help of the neighboring people, he repaired the boat, preparing to return home with a heart full of gratitude. Soon, Gulliver set sail once more, bidding farewell to the friends he'd made. After days on the ocean, he spotted a large ship on the horizon. Waving his arms, he called out, "Help! Over here!" The sailors spotted him and brought him aboard, listening in awe as he told his tale. Gulliver knew his family awaited him, but he couldn't help but wonder what other adventures lay in the vast world beyond. And so, the doctor returned home, with stories of little people, brave kings, and battles won, knowing that while his journey might be over for now, the world held endless possibilities.